Hi, I'm Amy with Superior Threads, and today we're going to talk all about thread. Today's topic is cotton versus polyester thread. Most of us either land on team cotton or team polyester. Some of us are Switzerland. I like to stay neutral in the middle because they both serve a purpose. So don't get stuck just on cotton or just on polyester. Let's talk about some myths about whether you should only use cotton or whether you should only use polyester. One of the myths is polyester will cut your fabric. That is totally not true. I think where that myth came from is early on when polyester thread was manufactured, first developed, our cotton, or what we would consider our quilting cotton fabric, was a lot looser woven. It was not as tight as woven today as it is today. And over time, cotton fabric will deteriorate. A polyester thread will not. And so if a quilt is used and laundered often, it'll start to deteriorate, and where it deteriorates is at those pressure points of thread, and that's where it starts to separate. It actually will start to deteriorate whether you have cotton thread there or polyester thread. So the myth that your polyester thread is going to tear your fabric is not true. Feel free to use it. The next myth is about cotton. A lot of myth is that the color may run, it's not as strong, and also it's very linty. So let's talk about that. Cotton is a natural fiber, and it depends on the quality of cotton thread that you purchase. If you purchase a high quality cotton thread, it's made with the longer staples of cotton, which cost more. So the manufacturing process of cotton thread can range from purchasing very cheap cotton, which is a small staple, to a more expensive cotton, which is a long staple. A long staple cotton, which is going to be your higher end thread, is going to be stronger and is not going to break. If you're buying a low cost cotton thread, that's most likely made with a lesser cost cotton, which is shorter staple, and therefore it is going to break easier. So if you're going to buy cotton, make sure you buy a high quality cotton thread like our King Tut or Masterpiece lines. Here are our two most popular threads, King Tut and Masterpiece. Stay tuned for a video where we discuss in more detail about these threads. So when do we want to use cotton thread when we're sewing, whether we're quilting or making a garment or anything, working on a bag or anything like that? It's really your choice. A cotton thread, which is like this, which is our Masterpiece. Since it's a natural fiber, it's never going to be shiny. It's always going to it's going to have a matte finish on it. And so if that's the look you're going for, by all means use cotton. I also like to use cotton when I am sewing some fine garments that I may want, like a linen and stuff like that. I may want to use a cotton thread because I'm sticking with a natural fiber theme. Now, a lot of people say if you're working with an older quilt top, which I have one right here. So this is a quilt top I purchased at a show. A local quilt guild had a booth set up and they were selling these quilt tops, and I always like to support guilds and things like that, so I found this vintage quilt top. This is made out of all shirting material and flour sacks. That's what I was trying to find. This is made out of all vintage fabric, and it's mostly all cotton is what it feels like. It was also stitched together. Let me see if I can get in here. Looks like the border was added later, but if inside here, you can see this was hand stitched, hand pieced and hand stitched. Whoever did this, hats off to you, because you have perfectly straight lines with this hand stitching, and I can tell that it is a cotton thread. So when I go to quilt this, I probably will use a cotton thread like our Masterpiece, not this color. Or I'm not sure, I didn't bring any King Tut down with me, but Masterpiece or King Tut would be a cotton thread. And I just like to keep it in line with what the quilt was made out of because it is an older quilt, and I think the cotton thread would look great on this. And that's probably when I would decide to use a cotton thread. Cotton can be more expensive, especially the higher end cotton, and it will always be a little linty because it is a natural fiber. There's just no way around that. You can't make something out of cotton and not have fibers come off. So my recommendation to you when you use cotton is just to check your bobbin area, clean it out quite often. I often will stop if I'm quilting on my long arm after each row or pass. I will go in and clean out my bobbin area, or when I'm at my domestic machine and using it, I'll just kind of mentally keep a timer track and then open up my bobbin and clean it out. You will find that's much easier if you stay on top of that because it will be a little linty. Another reason to use cotton thread is when piecing. I love to piece with cotton, and I use our 50 weight Masterpiece cotton thread. Something like this is a foundation paper pieced pattern that I'm working on, and they're very popular right now. A lot of us have been starting to do these, but you get a lot of fabric built up and all these little corners and pieces like that. When I piece with our Masterpiece cotton, I can iron it with the hottest setting possible, and I can really smush down all these fabrics so it lays nice and straight, and I don't have to worry about it. Now, that being said, I want to dispel, I guess is the right word, a myth about polyester melting in your iron. It won't melt in your iron if you have a new iron probably bought in the last 15, 20 years. However, if you have a very old iron, those old irons used to get like super hot. You can almost melt asphalt with them. Those super hot irons may melt your polyester thread, but in general, if you have a newly purchased iron within the past decade, you're probably fine. Your iron will not get hot enough to melt it. Let's talk about polyester thread now. Now, polyester is going to be a lot shinier. If you see this one, you can see how it catches the light. I also have another polyester here that is manufactured to look more muted, to make it look a little bit more like cotton. It still will have a tiny bit of sheen to it, but not near as much. So you can see the difference in these two. Now, the reason I like polyester, well, I said the reason, but I like it for a lot of reasons. One, it's a little bit more cost effective. Two, it comes in a variety of weights and sizes, which we'll talk about weights and sizes in another video. So you have a lot more options, and you have a lot more options in color variations. If you look at this, how shiny and how bright this is, here's another polyester, and you can see how it catches the light, and you can see this really bright teal in this one. You cannot get these really bright colors with a natural fiber. It has to be a polyester, and so that's a little bit of an advantage there. Also, if you want your thread to be the star of the show, like this quilt right here, this quilt is quilted with the same thread, which is Magnifico, which is polyester. Here it is in lime green, and you can see how well it shows up on this quilt. It catches the light. So depending on when or what you're quilting will depend on what type of polyester you will use. If you want a really fine, thin thread, you're going to have to use a polyester thread or a silk thread. You cannot get cotton that thin. We can get a cotton or polyester on the thicker side of things as well, and then you would be able to choose between cotton or polyester. But the benefits of using polyester is you have more color choices, you can do shiny or matte, and you have a lot of different weights to choose from. So these are the 3 polyester threads I just mentioned, and if you look at them, they're all very different. The interesting thing about these is they're all the same weight. They're all 40 weight thread, which is a very middle of the road. Between 40 weight and 50 weight thread is a very common thread. It's probably what most of us use. But if you see the difference, this is Magnifico, and how shiny it is. It's really beautiful. It's also great for embroidery. This is Fantstico, which is the same thread as Magnifico, only it is variegated. Again, great for embroidery or any stitching on a quilt that you really want it to show some embellishment stitching on a garment. This is OMNI. Now it's 40 weight polyester as well, and it's the matte one. And it comes in a larger cone, so this is probably the most economical thread that you can buy. I like to use OMNI on most of my quilting, especially on quilts that I may do an edge-to-edge on, or charity quilts. Mostly it's very friendly on your pocketbook. It comes with a lot of thread on it, and it's strong and very reliable. So whether you're team cotton or team polyester or Switzerland, it really doesn't matter when you use it, it's gonna be your choice. So experiment with both. And that's it with cotton versus polyester. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We'll have more videos where we talk all about superior threads. I know my thread. Sorry, I got a little tangled here. Where's my Hugo's amazing tape?
And then just out of nowhere, Hugo's flies in it.
Yeah, you should. We have to do that. I'll be like,
and then it'll like explode.
yeah. Another reason why you might want to use cotton, I love to piece with our masterpiece.
Go and restart.
Sorry. Hello. Oh, sorry.